I flew 24 hours from Europe to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family. When I arrived, my dad said, "We thought this would be a wonderful day. Why did you come?" My sister added, "You haven't earned a seat at this table." I replied, "Thanks for letting me know. I'll pause all automatic payments today." Then I left the group chat. An hour later, Dad regretted his words. "My name is Jeff. I'm 33, the older son, the one who moved away. I build startups for a living. I sleep with my phone on Do Not Disturb and my brain on 12 tabs. I'm the guy who fixes payroll at 3 a.m. and pitches at 9. When people ask where I live, I say on planes. It's mostly true. I booked the ticket because I wanted to do something normal for once. Thanksgiving. Turkey. Bad jokes. Old smells. I flew 24 hours from Europe, 3 connections, 1 broken seat, and a baby who screamed in my ear like a fire alarm the entire Atlantic. I walked out of the airport in a wrinkled hoodie with a suitcase full of gifts and a paper bag of pastries I queued for at 5 a.m. in Paris because my mom loves almond croissants. I texted the family chat, landing, 20 minutes away. No one answered. The Uber turned into my parents' street, past the lawns I used to mow for free because family doesn't keep score. My chest got tight the way it always does when I see the old mailbox with the faded gold letters. I grabbed the pastries, the suitcase, my laptop bag, because I can't leave it anywhere without getting hives, and walked up the steps. The door opened before I could knock. My dad stood there in a brand new sweater, the kind he buys to look casual. He looked me up and down like I was a package delivered to the wrong house. "We thought this would be a wonderful day," he said, voice flat. "Why did you come?" I blinked. Jet lag hit me sideways. "Because it's Thanksgiving? I told you last week." From the dining room, my sister's chair scraped. She leaned back so I could see her face, already loaded. "You haven't earned a seat at this table," she said. Calm. Practiced. Like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. The house went very quiet. The TV in the living room kept playing a football game to an audience of no one. I stood there with the pastries cooling in my hands, my suitcase knocking my shin, and something inside me did a small, precise snap. "Okay," I said. Just that. No speech. No scene. I stepped inside, set the pastry bag on the entry bench I built with my dad when I was 15, and looked around like I was visiting a museum of a life I didn't own anymore. Mom appeared in her apron, wiping her hands. She saw me, saw the pastries, saw the clock. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Wash up," she said. "Dinner's at 2. If you're staying." "If I'm staying." I took a breath that tasted like cinnamon and old dust and swallowed hard enough to hurt. I didn't walk to the sink. I didn't pick a fight. I just stood there and cataloged details because that's how I survive. The curve of the light over the table, the turkey resting under foil, my sister's phone face down, but still lighting up with messages. "Jeff," Dad said, impatient now. "Close the door. You're letting the heat out." I closed it. I kept my mouth shut. I watched. The scene printed itself into me line by line. And for the first time in years, I felt something colder than the Chicago air wash over me. I was done auditioning for this part. When I was a kid, money was a religion. We tithed to college funds that weren't mine. We worshipped at the altar of sacrifices we make for family, which meant my dad worked double shifts and my mom wrote long spreadsheets about where every dollar went. The numbers always knew my sister's name. Travel soccer, violins, camps, tutors. "She's got potential," Mom would say. "We're investing." I had potential too. It just didn't fit their brochure. I took apart old computers. I sold candy at school with a markup and a loyalty punch card before I knew those words. I mowed lawns and built a website for the local bakery. When I said, maybe I could start something, Dad said, "Start by getting a real job." Mom said, "Don't embarrass us." So I got a real job. I wrote code at a desk under bad lighting and did a startup at night on a secondhand laptop with a fan that sounded like a hairdryer. I paid my own phone plan at 19. I paid rent at 20. At 24, I left for Berlin because an investor said, "Come build it here." And I thought if I put an ocean between us, the family rules would stop chasing me. They didn't. Distance just made the rope longer. At first, I sent money because I could. Little things. New tires for Mom's car because the snow is bad this year. A hospital bill because the deductible is brutal. My sister's temporary stopgap until her internship pays, which morphed into monthly temporary help. No one asked nicely. It was assumed, the way you assume gravity. "You're doing so well," Mom would say. "We're so proud of you." Proud meant, "We have your routing number." When I visited, I brought gifts, receipts, and apologies. I didn't bring my work. I learned early that if I said, "We shipped," my dad heard, I think I'm better than you. If I said we raised, my sister heard, you owe me praise. So I stopped saying anything. I let the money talk. Bad habit. Last year was a blur. We launched, got slammed, pivoted, found product market something, and closed a round that made our runway look less like a cliff. I didn't post it. My co-founder did because he's normal. My mom texted a screenshot with, wow, and you never even told us. 2 minutes later, your sister's new job is in consulting, big deal, big clients. 4 minutes later, a link to my sister's LinkedIn with 30 hashtags. I typed congrats and deleted it. I typed proud of her and deleted that too. I sent a thumbs up like a coward. Payments grew roots. Automatic payments to my parents' mortgage. Set up the year dad's company cut hours. A recurring transfer labeled school for my niece's daycare. My sister's credit card that somehow, magically, forwarded bills to my email. I told myself I was doing what a good son does. I told myself I was lucky. It's easy to be generous when you convert euros into dollars and don't do the exchange rate in your head. But generosity became a leash. We're a team, Mom said when I asked if we could pause one of the transfers after a bad month. Your sister is drowning. I paid. Next month, Dad sent me a photo of the new grill. Family needs joy. I paid. When the startup hit a weird dip and I stopped taking a salary for a quarter, I kept paying and ate instant noodles like I was 22 again. I didn't tell them. If I said, we're tight, Dad would call me irresponsible. If I said, I'm stressed, my sister would post a quote about boundaries and send me a Venmo request for brunch. I tried to set small lines. Hey, the credit card is for emergencies. She replied. I had nothing to wear to the conference. I wrote, then don't go. She wrote, wow, you've changed. Mom called. She's networking. Be supportive. I paid. The language shifted. Can you help? Became you'll cover this. Thank you became send it before Friday. If I didn't reply in an hour, my dad added a thumbs down in the chat like he was grading me. The night I finally said, we can't keep doing this, my mom said, you live in Europe. You don't know what groceries cost anymore. My sister sent a screenshot of a $300 grocery bill and wrote, tell me what to put back, banker. It wasn't just money. It was positioning. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, on Zoom, my sister joked, Jeff's our family ATM, and everyone laughed like it was a cute nickname. I muted myself and stared at my own face in the tiny square and saw a person who'd built something for strangers and nothing for himself. Then came this November. I asked early if they wanted me home. Mom wrote, it's up to you. Dad wrote nothing. My sister wrote a 3-paragraph update about her promotion track and ended with, anyway, seats will be tight. I read that part twice. I booked anyway. I told myself I was being dramatic. I told myself things would be different in person. They always are, right? People behave better when you're standing in the doorway holding the pastries they like. The night before my flight, I stayed up late clearing tickets for the team and setting my out of office. I threw my hoodie in the wash so I wouldn't smell like airports. I printed boarding passes because I secretly love paper. I picked a window seat so I could watch clouds and imagine my childhood street as a piece on a map, small and harmless. I messaged the group, flying in. Land at 10:20. I'll grab a ride over. Need me to bring anything? Silence. At the gate, a man in a Cubs hat asked where I was headed. Home, I said. On the plane, I wrote a toast in my notes app in case Dad asked me to say something. It was corny and sincere and mentioned how my sister kept the house loud when I left for college and how that was secretly comforting. I fell asleep on the last leg, phone face down on my tray, the toast open, half finished. Then the door opened at my parents' house, and Dad asked, why did you come? And my sister said, you haven't earned a seat. In the silence that followed, something old in me, some kid who wanted to be picked, stood up, took a bow, and left the stage. I put my bags by the coat rack. I could feel Dad waiting for me to apologize for existing in his doorway. I didn't. I walked to the kitchen, washed my hands, and looked at the fridge. There were photos of my sister holding wine with captions in cursive on magnets. Boss lady. None of me. Not even the one Mom used to keep of me at 14, holding the science fair ribbon. Sit. Mom said, pointing at a stool like I was 12. I sat. The countertop was cool under my palms. My sister rolled her eyes at me and whispered to Mom, loud enough, we said the list was full. He always makes it about him. I looked at Dad. I flew 24 hours. He shrugged. So. The football game roared, and for a second, it was a normal holiday. Then Dad cleared his throat, did that management voice thing, and said, this is a family day. We don't need drama. Your sister is hosting. There's a plan. You weren't in the plan. My jaw tightened. I kept my voice low. I told you I was coming. You always tell us after you've decided, my sister said, folding a napkin like she was on TV. You don't ask. I felt the stupid heat behind my eyes and hated it. I wanted to be here. And we wanted, Dad said, a peaceful day. He gestured toward the dining room like my presence was a windstorm. There's a place you reach where you stop arguing and start seeing. The room sharpened. On the counter sat my mom's phone, lighting up with the family chat. My name in blue bubbles. Earlier messages I hadn't read because I was flying. I turned the screen like a reflex. Mom snatched it back. Too late. I saw the last line my sister had sent an hour before I landed. If he shows up, we stick to the seating chart. My voice came out steady. Okay, you've made your choice. Finally, my sister said. An adult response. I stood, dried my hands on a towel, and looked at Dad. You know I've been paying your mortgage for a year. Silence. Mom's head snapped up. My sister froze. Dad's mouth worked like he'd swallowed the wrong word. Not today, Mom hissed. Do not. I'm not arguing, I said. I'm clarifying. Dad squared his shoulders. No one asked you to. I laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. You asked every month. That is not fair, Mom said. We are grateful. My sister scoffed. He wants applause. He always wants applause. I shook my head. No. I want honest math. Jeff, Dad said, voice hard. Drop it. I looked at the clock on the stove, the time difference in my bones, the toast still sitting unfinished in my phone. I thought of the automatic payments scheduled for the first of the month. I thought of my team sleeping right now in Berlin, trusting me to make good decisions. Okay, I said quietly. Since you want peace, I'll give it to you. What does that mean? Mom asked, suspicious. It means, I said, and I looked at my sister because she wanted the show, I'm done being your bank. Her face flickered. Excuse me. You heard me. Dad stepped closer. Careful. Careful of what? I asked. Careful of saying no? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I flew here to be with you, I said. You told me I hadn't earned a seat. Consider the account settled. The room went cold. Mom whispered, we can talk later or not. No, I said. We're done talking later. I'm leaving the chat. And I'm pausing all automatic payments today. My sister laughed like I told a joke she planned to repost. Go ahead, big man. I nodded. I will. And that was the breaking point. The quiet, clean slice between the life where I kept paying to be tolerated and the life where I didn't. I didn't slam doors. I didn't throw the pastries. I took my suitcase, my laptop bag, the paper bag of almond croissants, and walked back into the cold. The sky was a gray lid. My phone buzzed with a delayed flood. Airport Wi-Fi must have caught up. Messages stacked from the family chat like a timeline of a mistake I kept making. I ordered an Uber to the hotel by the lake. On the ride, I opened my banking app. Titles I'd written in nicer times stared back at me. Dad's house. Niece school. Fam's safety net. I felt ridiculous and weirdly tender toward my past self, the one who believed that names could make giving less lopsided. I toggled each one off. Confirm. 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 I scrolled to my sister's card, the one with the spa charges and the work shoes that cost more than rent in my first apartment. I moved it to inactive. I screenshotted the page because I knew they'd say I didn't tell them. I didn't send it. Not yet. At the hotel, the front desk clerk looked at my face and said, long day? I nodded. Family, I said. He winced in solidarity and handed me a key card and a bottle of water like a prescription. Upstairs, I showered off the airplane and the house. I put on clean jeans and a hoodie that didn't smell like 12 time zones. I called my co-founder. He answered on the first ring, sleepy. You okay? Yeah, I said. I just did a thing. He listened. He always does. When I told him the exact words Dad said in the doorway, he was quiet for a long beat. You know you did the right thing, he said. I know, I said. Then, I think I know. We talked for 20 minutes about everything except work. When we hung up, I felt like the ground under me had a shape again. I ordered room service turkey because it was Thanksgiving and I am a cliché. While I waited, I drafted a message to the family chat. Short, clear. Hey, I'm at a hotel. I flew to be with you. You made it clear I wasn't welcome. I'm pausing all payments until we can have an adult conversation with boundaries and timelines. I won't be attending dinner. I didn't send it yet. Not because I was scared. Because I wanted the decision to be calm, not a reply to adrenaline. I turned on the TV. Football again. It sounded like background noise to a life I didn't belong to anymore. Room service knocked. The turkey was too salty, the mashed potatoes perfect. I ate all the mashed potatoes, half the turkey, and one almond croissant. I put the rest in the minibar like an idiot and laughed out loud in an empty room. At 2:05 p.m., my phone lit up. Where are you? From Mom. Then three dots. Then nothing. At 2:09 p.m., from Dad. You're being dramatic. Get back here. At 2:12 p.m., from my sister. Grow up. People are asking where you are. I stared at the three messages and felt my heart slow down. I wrote the note I drafted. I added, do not call me until tomorrow. I hit send. I left the chat. Silence is a sound you have to get used to. It takes a while. The first minutes felt like standing after a long flight when your legs don't trust you. At 3:03 p.m., Dad called. I watched it buzz. I let it go. Then he called again. Then again. I put the phone face down on the nightstand and turned off Wi-Fi like a superstition. At 4:10 p.m., Mom texted a photo of the table. My chair was empty. My sister had placed a decorative pumpkin there like a joke and captioned it, Seasonal Jeff. I turned my phone over and didn't look at it again. I walked by the lake as the city lit up. A kid threw bread to geese and screamed when they got bold. A couple argued softly on a bench about which cousins to visit at Christmas. My hands were cold in my pockets. I felt light and sick at the same time. Back at the hotel, I opened my laptop. I didn't code. I made a spreadsheet, old habits, called Family. One tab for debts I had assumed, another for boundaries I should have set, a third for actual needs versus wants. I wrote sentences in the margins, like a user manual for a new version of me. Any money I send must have an end date. Any help must be tied to a plan, not a vibe. No is a complete sentence. I slept badly. Every dream was a version of the doorway. Dad saying the same sentence in different voices. At 7:02 a.m., my phone rang again. Dad. I answered. His voice was tired. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I said. He exhaled. Your sister, she wanted a host. She wanted it perfect. Perfect didn't need to include humiliating me. A pause. In my ear, I heard kitchen sounds, the clatter of regret. We're family, he said, like that fixed the math. Exactly, I said. We counted on you, he said quietly. We shouldn't have. Those words felt like tiles clicking into place. Dad, I said calm. It's not about counting on me. It's about counting it all. I don't follow. I swallowed. You never asked what I could actually afford. You assumed I could always give because I left. Because my life looks shiny on your screen. I stopped taking a salary for 3 months this summer. I kept paying everything. You bought a grill. Silence. In the background, Mom said something I couldn't catch. Dad cleared his throat. We didn't know, he said. Because you didn't ask. I let it sit. He let it sit. Finally, he said, come by. We'll talk. Not today, I said. Tomorrow. Noon. No yelling. No triangulating through Mom or my sister. Just us. I'll bring statements. You bring a pen. He almost laughed. A pen. Yeah, I said. We're going to write things down. We hung up. I stood in a quiet hotel room and felt a strange, grown satisfaction settle in my chest. Not revenge. Not triumph. Just the absence of begging. I texted my co-founder. Lunch is back on Monday. And, unrelated, I think my dad is going to learn what a budget is. He replied with a thumbs up and a gif of someone closing a valve. The next day, I took the train to my parents' house with a folder in my backpack. I didn't bring pastries. Dad met me on the porch without the new sweater. He looked smaller somehow. We sat at the kitchen table with black coffee and no football. I opened the folder. Screen transfers. Monthly totals. A list of payments the last 2 years. I'm not asking for anything back, I said. I'm asking for a plan. We went line by line. Mom joined an hour in, quieter than I've seen her. My sister hovered in the hallway and then disappeared when it got real. This one, Dad said, pointing to Dad's house. We can pause. Well, figure it out. Good, I said. Because I paused it yesterday. He nodded like a man tasting medicine. Okay. Daycare. Mom asked, voice watery now. How long until? End of current term, I said. 2 months. Then I'm out. I'm not the parent here. She closed her eyes. Fair. My sister texted me from upstairs, as if we weren't in the same house. You're cruel. I put my phone face down. This one, I said, tapping emergency fund. We keep, but it's a line with a cap, and if it's used, you send a receipt within 24 hours. If the word spa appears, I cut it. Dad snorted despite himself. Deal. We wrote it down. We wrote it all down. When we finished, Dad looked at the paper like it was a map out of a maze he built by accident. He tried to say thank you. It caught in his throat. I didn't make it easier. I just nodded. As I stood to leave, Mom touched my sleeve. We were unkind, she said, not quite looking at me. You were, I said. We're trying, she said. Try harder, I said, and I didn't say it mean. I said it like I would to a teammate. On the porch, Dad cleared his throat. About yesterday, he said. I know, I said. An hour later, you regretted it. He winced. Yeah. Good, I said. Keep regretting it until you change. He didn't argue. He opened the door for me like he used to. I flew back to Europe 2 days later. The plane was quieter on the way out. I slept without dreaming about doorways. When we landed, my phone woke up and did its usual fireworks. Team chat. Investor ping. One message from Mom. We'll make the payments work. Thank you for everything you've done. We'll send an update next week. No heart emoji. That was new. I walked to the office with coffee and no panic. My co-founder asked how it went. I said, we wrote a budget. He laughed like it was more dramatic than that. And maybe it was, but the boring words are the ones that save you. In the evenings that week, I kept waiting for the shadow to creep back in. It didn't. The empty space where the monthly guilt used to sit filled with little things I forgot I liked. Long runs along the canal. Cooking for friends without checking my phone during dinner in case a family bill needed approval. I caught myself humming in the copy room and almost apologized to nobody. 3 small things happened. First, my sister removed me from the family logistics chat she created. It stung less than a bug bite. A day later, she texted separately. You made your point. I wrote back. I didn't make a point. I made a boundary. She didn't reply. Second, Dad sent a photo of a handwritten sheet taped to the fridge titled House Budget, with crooked columns and checkboxes. It looked like homework. He wrote, we'll try this. For the first time in years, I believed him. Third, I opened my banking app on the first of the month and saw no outgoing family lines. The quiet felt like a new apartment, echoey, full of possibility. Here's what I kept. I still love them. Love isn't a subscription. Helping isn't the same as being harvested. My seat at any table is earned by my humanity, not my wire transfers. I don't need the old chair at their Thanksgiving. If they invite me next year, I'll ask what time dinner is and whether I can bring dessert. If they say, why did you come? I'll say, because I wanted to, and I'll leave if the room demands my dignity as payment. I'm not the family ATM. I'm Jeff. I build things. I build companies. I build boundaries. And the moral is simple. Love without invoices, or don't call it love.